When picking a story to tell, I always choose one that's really close to my heart. The story of my daughter, Serenity. Serenity was my first term child after having two preemies, one that was born at 31 weeks and one that was born at 34. I was ecstatic to actually make it to term because I wanted to enjoy what most mothers almost take for granted. That cuddling experience the first couple minutes, that being able to hold your child and bond with your child in the hospital while not having to worry about the ups and downs of a NICU stay. Serenity gave me just that. She was born August 13th, 2013. 5 pounds, 13 ounces, and 18 inches long. Me and her father were ecstatic. I really wanted to name her Serenity, but me and her dad had an agreement that since his name started with C, no matter if it was a boy or girl, the child's name would also begin with C. How she got the name Serenity instead of Serenity. The gracious thing was, she was also born on my mother's birthday. This child, I thought, was going to be my easy child. When you fast forward 2 weeks, everything was going very smoothly. Of course, as a working mom, I had to go back to work. Going back to work, I decided to take my child to the sitter once her father went to work at around 1 a.m. just so I can get a little bit more rest before I returned to work at 7. I got up, called, checked on my baby. Everything seemed okay. I continued on to work. At 11 o'clock, I got the police pulling up to my job. I work at a law firm, so that was a little scary. The police pulled up to my job and told me that I needed to, for one, sit down, and another set of women walked in behind them. They told me that they were part of the Department of Children and Family Services, and that my daughter had been hurt, and that I needed to get to the ICU ward of our children's hospital immediately. I dropped everything and rushed away. When I got there, I came across a child that was pretty much gone. She was completely stiff and hooked up to every tube you could possibly imagine. In the hospital, I find out that she had been suffocated or deprived of oxygen one way or another and had been dead for over 56 minutes. It took them 56 minutes to work on her to get her heart to start beating. She was on heart medications, brain medications, and they had her room set to a temperature of below 0 to keep her brain activity at a very low level, so the swelling in her brain waves wouldn't become even more damaged than they already were. Of course, the doctors told us to expect the worst. Within 3 days, we were getting told constantly that she would not make it once they start heating her body back up to where it could start trying to function normally. She surpassed all odds. She did end up making it. We had a very tribulatious next 7 months. We dealt with multiple surgeries, multiple operations, multiple tests, all which somewhat gave us bad enthusiastic. Like, they wanted us to, it almost made us believe something that would never happen. Ultimately, I had to make a hard decision. She was moved 5 hours away after we couldn't find appropriate nursing that was needed to take care of her. Having a child with both a G-tube and a trach required 24-hour care that left no bathroom breaks, no showers, no anything without an adult that knew how to care for her being with her every single minute. One day, after taking that 5-hour trip every single week, 2-3 times a week, the hospital called and told me I needed to make a decision. She was once again septic. With being septic, that meant her blood was completely full of bacteria. Once again, I can either choose to put her on antibiotics and continue her suffering, or I can go ahead and take her off her life support. I made the decision that day to go ahead and take her off her life support. That was a Wednesday. That Sunday, I took the 5-hour trip and got to the hospital, cleaned her up, dressed her, and took her off her life support. She passed away an hour and a half later. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make as a parent, but I watched my child go peacefully. I also learned what it means to be I learned what it was like to be selfless. Making that decision was the ultimately selfless decision I could ever make.